it's well known throughout many sources that Pharaoh had 3 advisors, and they were Balaam, Job, and Jethro. So these are the 3 advisors of Pharaoh, and they're always grouped together in the sources. So I thought, because I've gone through all the material available in English on these guys, I thought I would take the next step and see if I could find them touching anywhere in the Torah codes. And to my surprise, I did find them touching in one spot, and it just happens to be, in my opinion, the perfect spot, which just lends credibility to the Torah codes and their legitimacy. I can't speak to how others are using them, but if you use them for study and to unearth things or confirm things, you can find some amazing stuff. Like, for instance, in purple we have Bilaam. You can see how they're all right on top of each other here. This is a very tight code. And then in yellow, Yitro, Jethro, and then in red we have Job. And then they're surrounded by little cainite or kenite, Jethro hint words. This kuf nun he is always related to Jethro and the Cainites, and I'll show you why that is. So again, these are 3 advisors to Pharaoh who gave him advice twice on things relevant to an infant Moses, as I've covered in other videos. So let's take a look at where the codes actually exist. It begins in Exodus 9, verse 4 through to 7 or 8. And I'm going to read from 3 down. Then the hand of the Lord will strike your livestock in the fields with a very severe pestilence. Now look at this word, this kuf nun root here for the livestock. I'll show you why this is referring to Cainites and Jethro. But the Lord will make a distinction between the livestock of Israel and the livestock of the Egyptians, so that nothing shall die of all that belongs to the Israelites. So remember this when we're talking about the livestock. Kuf nun he. The first time this ever shows up in the Torah is in Genesis 4, which is the chapter about Cain. Lamech took to himself 2 wives. The name of the one was Ada. Remember this. Remember this name, Ada. And the other was Zillah. Ada bore Yabal. He was the ancestor of those who dwell in tents amidst herds. Herds of livestock, right here. This is the very first time this shows up in the Torah, and it's about Cainites. And we know Jethro the Cainite had a flock, which Moses tended. Moses tended his father-in-law's flock. Now, in Genesis 36, which I've explained before is a Cainite genealogy from Esav, we have Ada again. So a hint there that this is Cainite stuff. Ada bore to Esav Eliphaz. Do you remember Eliphaz and how he's connected to Job? These guys are all cousins. Job, Jethro, Bilaam, Eliphaz. These are all related to each other. I have a video on that. These guys, Job and his prophet friends, they're all related. And then in the same verse, we have Bashemet bore Ruel. Who's Ruel? Jethro, or his father. So here we have a connection as well to Job and Jethro. But then we'll carry on. We see even further that there's a connection with the livestock. As we'll see here. We'll go back to Exodus 9. This time tomorrow I will rain down a very heavy hail, such as has not been seen in Egypt from the day it was founded until now. Now, this is where it gets really good. Therefore, order your livestock and everything you have in the open brought under shelter. Every man and beast that is found outside, not having been brought indoors, shall perish when the hail comes down upon them. Now watch this. Next verse. Exodus 9, the same chapter. Those among Pharaoh's courtiers, or his advisors, his workers, his helpers, who feared the Lord's word, so those among them who feared the word of Hashem, the God-fearers, if you will, the God-fearers among Pharaoh's little troop, brought their slaves and livestock indoors to safety. But those who paid no regard for the word of the Lord, so those who did not fear Hashem, left their slaves and livestock in the open. And of course they were killed. Look at what the source in the Targum says, Targum Yonatan on Exodus 9:20, our verse. Job. Job was one of those who brought in his slaves and livestock. He was one of the God-fearers. So maybe now this little result here in the ELS codes is more relevant